Toronto wakes with the sound of a streetcar bell and a sky the color of fresh cream. Inside a small apartment above Kensington Market, a woman steadies her breath. Her name is Tessa Ramsey, and her hands are the kind that can smooth thunder into silk. A palette knife glides along a cake, laying down a ribbon of icing that shines like moonlight. Her phone buzzes on the counter. Marcus, the man she loves, the man who taught her to say we when she meant I. She doesn't read the message. She won't let the screen own her heartbeat. She finishes the edge, wipes the knife clean. One last pass, and the surface is flawless. At Levy and Lime, the restaurant Marcus built on stories and lighting, staff sweep across the floor like a tide. He greets Tessa in the doorway with a kiss on the forehead, public, practiced, warm enough to burn.
The Queen of Sugar has arrived.
He calls to the kitchen, he says. Leela is already there, Tessa's sous chef, once a confidant. Leela's laugh takes a half-second too long to land, and when Marcus moves past her, his hand finds the small of her back like it lives there. Tessa looks away, pretending to adjust a piping bag. The stainless steel table throws back a reflection no one is meant to see. In the walk-in fridge, Tessa slides a tray of Genoese onto the shelf and notices a champagne cork jammed behind a crate of lemons. There's lipstick on it, not her shade. That evening on Queen Street, Aunt Marva presses a paper bag of hot doubles into Tessa's hands.
Men sweet like condensed milk,
Marva says.
and they spoil quick if you don't chill them.
Tessa smiles, but the smile doesn't reach her eyes. She eats standing up, tasting pepper heat, tasting the truth that's about to rise. Late after close, Tessa returns to the restaurant to finish a private order. In the hush of stainless and shadows, she hears laughter. Marcus and Leela somewhere close. A pot lid leans at the wrong angle on the prep rack. In its warped mirror, two hands brush once, twice, as if by mistake. Tessa's palette knife slips and ticks against the counter like a metronome breaking time. At home, Aya, the barista with Polaroids in her pockets, calls on video.
You always pipe the truth eventually.
Aya says.
Maybe start sooner.
Tessa doesn't answer. She lines up her knives by length, breathes, and waits for the storm to pick a direction. The private dinner is a small room filled with big eyes and bigger phones. Warm gold light, candles performing on cue. Marcus stands, handsome enough to be forgiven for everything.
To partnership,
He says.
front of house, back of house, and all things sweet in between.
Tessa wheels in the cake. 2 tiers, white lace stenciled so fine it could cut you. She moves close to Leela. The room falls in love with the picture they make. The angel pastry chef and her faithful Sue. Tessa steadies the top tier and turns it half a degree. Candlelight slides along the lace and wakes up a line so thin you'd miss it if you were breathing too loud. A line of microscopic brush script that whispers from icing straight into the bones of everyone watching.
Thank you for the late night tastings, says Lila.
Gasps crack like plate glass. Phones tilt. Somebody says, "No way." Lila goes the color of paper.
Tessa, what is this?
She manages.
Decoration.
Tessa says softly.
You know how important the finish is.
Marcus tries to grab the air before it leaves him.
She's being dramatic.
Am I?
Tessa asks. And then she puts the knife down and walks out before anyone can pin a story to her spine. Alley ambiance, distant traffic. In the alley, cold air takes her hands and won't give them back. The palette knife slips and hits the wet asphalt with a bright, small sound. Across the street, a poster ripples in the night breeze. Harborfront Gala, a city that rises. The paper shines like a dare. Tessa looks once, twice, and something inside her clicks into place like a gear finding its teeth. Days fold over each other. Missed calls stack up. Lila posts a careful note about taking time off social, and the comments eat it alive. Aunt Marva drops food at Tessa's place and leaves without a sermon. The kitchen goes quiet. The cakes don't rise because there are no cakes. But a poster on Tessa's fridge grows sticky notes like ivy. Dessert installation, stage angles, sightlines live stream, rotation. Each note is a breath, and each breath sounds less like grieving and more like building. Light, purposeful music begins. In Chef Nico's test kitchen, Tessa underbakes a tray of Genoese until it sits at the edge of collapse.
Risky,
Nico says, chewing like a judge.
moist, but fragile.
Flavor rides moisture.
Tessa answers.
Stability is architecture.
He grunts.
Respect is a sound you learn if you've lived in enough kitchens.
Aya photographs lines of edible ink on acetate sheets, while Tessa changes the angle of a lamp by millimeters. At 10 meters, the loop of your G dies, Aya notes, and Tessa adjusts her hand until the letter wakes up again.
Eli, the events producer, listens while Tessa pitches a skyline made of sponge and sugar. I need drama, he says, not disaster. Can you handle a live stream?
I can make sugar hold a roof, Tessa tells him. He smiles. Then let's build a city. Brief street ambiance. In the market, Marcus corners Tessa between oranges and camera lenses.
We can spin the dinner, he says, voice honeyed with panic. Say creative differences. Do a collab.
I don't collab with rot.
Tessa replies. Aya steps in, a small person with a large truth.
She builds houses.
Aya says she doesn't beg for rooms. Marcus's smile fractures like burnt sugar. He steps back. The world doesn't. At home, the blueprint for the skyline cake sprawls across the table. Edible glass towers, sponge brick condos, a motorized top tier. On the margin, Tessa writes, angle of incidence equals angle of reflection. She draws a tiny arrow at 42 degrees and circles it twice.
You sure you want to feed people truth?
Aunt Marva asks, chopping Scotch bonnet. It,
Don't go down, sweet.
I want them to see themselves chew it.
Tessa answers, and the pepper heat fogs the room and makes the plan feel holy. Transitions sting. The Harborfront Gala gleams with gowns and spotlights, the live bug glowing on LED walls. Backstage, the skyline cake sits under dust covers, breathing in the way buildings do before a ribbon cutting. Chef Nico touches the base like it's a shoulder.
If it collapses, it's modern art.
He says,
If it stands, it's legend.
It will stand.
Tessa replies. On the floor, Marcus has found a sponsor table, tucks fitted like an apology he never intends to say. Lila sits beside him, her confidence borrowed and 2 sizes too big. Cameras lurk, polite as cats. When it's time, Tessa steps to the mic. Her voice is calm, the kind of calm that makes rooms behave.
Cities rise in layers.
she says.
Steel, glass, people, stories. Tonight we serve one.
Lights warm. The curtain lifts. The cake behind her looks like a dream built by a patient god. A crew member nods. Somewhere inside the structure, a small motor wakes up and begins to turn the top tier. Slow, slow. The room leans in. Light skims the ribbon edge Tessa designed in silence at 3 a.m. The edible ink opens like a shell and shows its pearl. Real taste can't hide behind branding. Chefs don't steal, cowards do. Ask about late night tastings. The ripple runs through the crowd, and then the ripple becomes a wave. Gasps, whispers, 100 tiny red recording dots blooming at once. On the big screen, the director makes a choice. Split screen. On the left, the icing ribbon. On the right, the sponsor wall where Marcus blinks under logos and tries to find a version of his face that doesn't know shame. Leela's hand slips off his arm like water. He tries to smile, but the smile forgot how. Footsteps. Backstage huss. In the corridor behind the stage, Marcus pins Tessa against a maze of prop crates not with hands. He's learned that much, but with posture and words. "You think this saves you?" he hisses. "You won't work in this city." "You keep acting like you own the map," Tessa says, voice level. He leans in. "I built that place." "We built it," she corrects. "You took the credit." "You took my friend. I used icing. That's mercy." Chef Nico appears, all rough kindness and clean knives. Suing over subtext, he asks Marcus, bold, "We could countersue for stolen recipes." Eli jogs up, headset crackling with the electricity of a broadcast on fire. "Security would like you to exit, Mr. Levy," he says. "This is my city," Marcus insists. "Tonight it's hers," Eli answers. Marcus looks to Lila, reaching for an ally he spent so freely he forgot to keep any. Lila looks at Tessa instead. Her voice is small, but it doesn't tremble. "I'm sorry." "Start by not letting him script you," Tessa says. Leela nods. Security escorts Marcus away, not with spectacle, but with the ordinary efficiency reserved for people who made their choices a long time ago. On the floor, the applause swells in a strange new shape. Less victory, more relief. The cameras find Tessa's hands at her sides, steady now, and for a second the whole city rehearses how it feels to tell the truth without raising its voice. Soft outdoor ambiance, lake breeze. Down by the water after midnight, the wind lifts the edges of programs and dresses and dreams. Aya presses a hot chocolate into Tessa's palm. "For hands that do impossible things," she says. "Also, the font on your icing is trending." Tessa laughs, unguarded, and it sounds like a window opening. Back inside, staff fold tables and roll up cables. Aunt Marva hands patties to a crew of strangers and tells them they're family because they're hungry. Chef Nico places a toque on Tessa's head with a theatrical little bow. "You didn't need this," he says, "but take it anyway." Gentle day transition. Weeks later, a small storefront on a bright Toronto street smells like vanilla and new paint. A sign in the window reads, "Tessa Ramsey Patisserie. Layers tell the truth." Aya strings a line of Polaroids along the back wall. The first sketch, the motor test, the night the messages turned the room. The bell on the door tings. Leela steps in with a modest CV and eyes that no longer hunt for mirrors. "Boundaries first," she says. Then recipes? Tessa studies her for a breath long enough to be a choice. Boundaries first, she agrees. Outside, a line curls around the block. Aunt Marva stands at the front with kitchen shears and a ribbon the color of sugar. She cuts it, and the crowd cheers in a neighborhood kind of way. Less red carpet, more porch light. A child presses both hands and nose to the glass and watches Tessa pipe a final flourish on the day's last cake. Sun lands on the palette knife and throws a thread of brightness across the room. Tessa leans close and writes a line that isn't for gossip or defense or proof. It's for the work. It's for what comes next. The truth rises. She steps back. The line holds. The room breathes. People will say she destroyed a man that night at the gala, but they weren't listening. She didn't shout or name names. She set a mirror at exactly 42 degrees and let the city decide what it was seeing. Then she went home and built something that would last. Toronto keeps moving. Streetcars, lake wind, steel and glass, rising in layers. Inside the little shop, a bell jingles, and someone says, "Wow," and a knife catches the light the way it does when a steady hand believes in the work. The icing said it all.